This is an artwork by Britto. We're going to make one similar. First, find your name on the paper and then turn your paper over. So now your name is on the back. Grab your heart template, find the middle of your paper, and then you're going to want to hold it down with your whole hand. Take your time tracing around the heart. Try not to press really hard. Try pressing lightly with your pencil. When you go all the way around back to your hand, carefully keep holding down your heart to try to finish the edge. Now we're going to make 5 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The lines start at the heart and go all the way to the edge of your paper. Now we're going to fill in all of the areas around your heart with different shapes and lines. We are going to be using oil pastels. Oil pastels are like soft crayons. You don't have to push too hard to get a nice bright line. I'm making circles in this section. Sometimes my circles are right next to the heart or right next to the line that divides the two sections. I'm going to take my time and fill in this entire area with circles. You want your art to look beautiful, so take your time and don't rush. I'm going to choose different colored oil pastels for each section. Notice I turned my paper because it's easier for me to make those straight lines when the paper is turned. When using oil pastels, sometimes there's little pieces that are on your paper. Don't brush them away, but rather just blow them off of your paper. If you try to brush them off with your hand, you're going to smear your oil pastels, and that doesn't look very nice. Notice that my hand that I am drawing with is all the way off my paper onto the desk. That helps keep my hand from smearing the other oil pastels. Took me a little while to figure out what I wanted to do. I decided on wavy lines. It was hard for me to see where the heart was, so I had to turn my paper. Remember, always turn your paper to make it easier for you to draw your shapes or your lines. Normally, I only use one color, but this time with the blue, I decided to add one more shade of blue. Notice my other hand is always holding the paper down so it doesn't move. I encourage you to choose white and use it somewhere on your artwork, whether you make shapes or whether you make lines. I decided to add white dots inside of my gold ones. You'll see later when we use watercolor that the watercolor does not stick to the oil pastels. It resists. Kind of shows up like invisible ink. Notice I turn my paper again to draw my shapes. This way it's easier for me to draw the shapes and it keeps my hand from rubbing the other oil pastels on the paper and smearing them. I don't want them to be smeared. Now it's time to paint our heart. We're going to be using tempera paint. Here you can see how easy the oil pastel smears. Take your paper towel, fold it in half. This is where you're going to set your paintbrush. When you're ready, dip your brush straight in and out of the paint. You don't need to mix it, just dip it in and out, and then carefully begin to paint inside your heart. I like to sort of outline it first and then color it in, taking your time. You also have to be very careful when you're painting not to smear the oil pastel that you have on your paper. Notice I'm not smashing my brush, and when I get my paint, I dip it straight in and straight out. If I think it's going to drip, I'll lightly touch the side and get that drip off. I don't want to have that red paint in the middle of my other sections. When you're all done, just set your brush on your paper towel. Do not set it inside of the paint dish. It'll probably spill. All right, now it's time to finish our project. The first thing you're going to do is take a black crayon and write your name inside of your heart. Please don't write your name in the middle of the heart, just along the edge. Now what I want you to do is trace over each of your 5 lines and around your heart. Take your time. Be careful not to smear the oil pastel. And notice I turn my paper. You're going to get a nicer line if you turn your paper as you're drawing over top of your pencil lines, especially when you go around the heart. Notice I'm making small, short lines. Now trace over the pencil lines that divide your sections. It's really going to make them stand out nicely. And there you have it. Amazing! It's time to paint again. This time, instead of tempera paint, we're going to use watercolors. These are called liquid watercolors. Take the wet wipe and fold it in your hand. You are going to use this to clean your brush when you change colors. If you use yellow, please use yellow first. You don't need to stir, you just need to dip your paint straight in and straight out. And then when you paint on your paper, pretend like you're petting Tila. You're not scrubbing back and forth, you're painting one direction. My paintbrush is barely touching the paper. You don't want to smash your brush into the paper because that hurts the brush. And it's going to smear those oil pastels again. When you're finished and ready to change colors, squeeze your brush and get some of that paint out that you were just using. So now your brush is a little bit cleaner and ready for the next color. Straight in and straight out, and I touch the side just a little bit to get that drip off so it doesn't drip on my paper. I'm not scrubbing, I'm going one direction. Again, pretend like you're lightly petting Tila. This shows up really well. It demonstrates how the oil pastel resists the watercolor. The watercolor does not stick to the areas of the paper where the oil pastel is. Pretty cool technique. Again, when you're finished, use your wet wipe and clean off your brush. Remember the white oil pastel that I used? Here's where it's going to show up really nicely. Dip, touch the side. Remember, touching the side of your dish helps to get that first drip off so it doesn't drip onto your paper by accident in a different area. I really like how this turquoise and gold and the white oil pastel look together. Again, make sure you clean your brush and just kind of dab it on the wet wipe. It helps to keep all of our watercolors as bright and clear as we can. I sped the video up here so you can get to work sooner. If you have watercolor that's pooling up on your paper, you can take your wet wipe and just dab it on the paper to soak it up. I really like that fuchsia pink color a lot, so I'm going to use it again. Once again, I sped up the video. I don't normally paint that fast. When you're finished, clean off your brush. And if you have any extra watercolors pooling up on your paper, use your wet wipe and just dab up and down to get the excess off. And you're finished.